Hello everybody, my name is Dee and welcome to Books and Quirks. Today I'm going to do a tag video. I wasn't tagged to do this video, but I thought it appropriate since it's the month of July that I do the mid-year book freak out tag. So like I said, I wasn't tagged, but you really can only do it at this time of year, so I tagged myself and I wanted to do it. So here it goes. Okay. So the first question says, what was the best book that you've read so far in 2017? The best book that I read so far, there were so many good ones, and quite a few 5 stars for me. But the best nonfiction book I think I read this year so far is The War of the Roses by Alison Weir. It still sticks with me. I still loved that book. I loved every page of it. And the fact that it was nonfiction, it read like you forgot that it was nonfiction halfway through. It was just so good. And the best fiction book that I read in 2017 so far was The Book Thief. I read it very early in the year, and I love historical fiction, but for some reason I had to put that book off. I was like the last one on the train to read that book, as I am so often. And I absolutely loved it. So definitely those two, and I just cheated to put one from nonfiction, one from fiction. Number 2 says, what was the best sequel you read so far in 2017? I don't know about sequel, but the best series book that I read in 2017, so it's sort of a sequel, is The Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. It's not the second book in the series, but it's the third book in the series, and I loved it. Oh my god. I buddy read this with Lisa over at Lincoln Books, and it was just so good. It was the best book of the series by far. Number 3 says, a new release you haven't read yet but really want to. And that is another V.E. Schwab book, and it's Our Dark Duet. I read This Savage Song, I think it was early this year. Loved it. And Our Dark Duet just came out, I think, a couple weeks ago, actually. I still have yet to put it on hold in the library, or I could go, maybe I can go pick up my own copy, I don't know. But it's going to be the conclusion of the series. I think it's just going to be a duology. So yeah, cannot wait to get started with that eventually. Number 4 says, the most anticipated book for the second half of the year. You know what? I don't really anticipate too many books unless it's a book in a series that I'm looking forward to. Mostly, I just find out about books as they come out. But I am really anticipating, in terms of the series, I am really anticipating the last book in the Fallen Kingdom series. I love this series. I've yet to read actually the 5th book. I put it off because I said, you know what? When this series concludes, I'm going to marathon the whole thing. I read the first 4. I have book 5, but I never read it because I said I want to marathon the whole thing. I hate this thing of waiting a whole year or more sometimes for the next book in a series. It just kills me. I want to know what's happening right now, as we all do. So yeah, once the 6th book comes out, I plan on reading all 6 and just marathoning the whole thing. Number 5 says, the biggest disappointment. Earlier this year, I was looking forward to a book and I read The Pink Suit. I'll put a picture up. I forget the author at the moment. The Pink Suit is the story of, it revolves around the famous pink suit that Jackie Kennedy wore the day that her husband was shot, the day that JFK was shot. It's an iconic suit, and it just, whenever you see it, you think of that day and that, that occurrence, and I could see the video footage in my mind. I wasn't alive back then, but I've seen it so many times on television. And then when I read it, and I knew that it revolved around sort of the seamstress, the immigrant family who made that iconic suit, but this was such a huge disappointment. There was very little historical fiction in it. This could have been written in modern day for all I knew. Um, there were just a few little snippets here and there that let you know that it was taking place in the early 1960s. Um, and there was very little plot, and I found the characters not likable, and it just was a huge disappointment. When I first learned about that book, I was so excited to read it, and then I finally was able to get it for really cheap off of Book Outlet, and it was such a huge letdown. So yeah, I did not like that book. Number 7 says favorite new author. This could be a debut author or an author that's just new to you. And this is going to be an author that is just new to me, and that is definitely Alison Weir. Oh my gosh, I have discovered her this year between The War of the Roses and Innocent Traitor, which is the story of Lady Jane Grey. I absolutely love her, and I plan on reading everything this author has written now. You know, now that I've read 2 books and both were 5 stars and excellent, and I'm really excited to read so much more from this author. Number 8 says new favorite book crush. Now, I have my book crushes, but they've been pretty consistent over the years. Like Mr. Darcy, for example, is, my all-time book crush. Um, so I didn't know what to choose. I had to look through the different books, but I think I'm going to choose Akiva from the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series. Absolutely loved him, and yes, very swoon worthy. Number 9 says new favorite character, and that is going to be Kambili from Purple Hibiscus by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I loved Kambili. I felt for her. I rooted for her. I just, I mean, I've gushed about Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie before. Between Americana and Purple Hibiscus, I read Purple Hibiscus this year, and oh my gosh, I loved that book, and I love Kambili. Um, she's just a very special character. Okay, number 10 says book that made you cry. Now, I've said this before on my channel that it is very hard to actually make me cry, like tears. There's been only a couple of books that have really done that for me, and um, I'm going to have to choose The Book Thief. It was the only book that made me cry this year, and it was like only the second time that happened in my entire reading lifetime. Um, there were a couple of parts in that book that I actually had tears come down, and it was just so, that book is just amazing. And I know I chose it for another answer, but it was really the only one that I could choose. Number 11 says book that made you happy. And again, there are so many, but I'm going to choose a lighthearted, fun book that I read this year, and that is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. It is an Alice in Wonderland retelling, and, well, actually, it's a Queen of the Hearts retelling. Let me rephrase that. It's Queen of the Hearts retelling. And oh my gosh, I loved this book. It was so much fun. And you get to revisit all of the characters from Alice in Wonderland that we all know so well. And oh my gosh, I loved that book. It was so light, so fun, and I plan to reread that again and again. Number 12 says, favorite book to film adaptation this year, and that is going to be Big Little Lies. I read Big Little Lies, oh gosh, maybe in March or April. Loved it. And then I watched the 7-part miniseries on HBO, and it was excellent. And I followed the book like point by point. I mean, obviously, there were a couple little changes, but overall, it was, exactly what happened in the book. And it was just so good, so good. Number 13 says the favorite review you've done so far this year, or the favorite Booktube video you've done so far this year. And I really have loved doing wrap-ups, especially because I've had a really good reading year so far. I've enjoyed so many of the books that I've read, and I don't know, I was trying to think of the favorite, and there are a couple, but I think I'm going to go with the reviews of Alison Weir's books because I just loved gushing over those two books so much. And the story of Lady Jane Grey, who I've been fascinating with forever, and the story of the War of the Roses, which I've been wanting to know what that was all about for a while. So yeah, oh my gosh, definitely those two videos. Anything where I can really gush over a book is kind of my favorite thing. Number 14 says, the most beautiful book you've bought or received this year. And I'm going to go with Defy the Stars. Defy the Stars is a book that I received in my uppercase earlier this year, and it is gorgeous. I mean, just gorgeous, and definitely very, very pretty book. And finally, number 15 says, what books do you plan to read by the end of the year? I don't even know where to begin with this question because there are just so many books that I need to read, that I want to read. I don't want to say need, that I want to read by the end of the year. I just have so many that I'm interested in all of them. But I think, in terms of like the word need, I would really like to finish as many challenges as I can from the Book Riot Read Harder challenge. I've completed a bunch of categories so far this year, but I still have quite a few left. I don't know how many I'll complete by the end of the year, but as part of that challenge for some of the categories, I need to read The Night Watch. I need to read Everything Leads to You. I need to read In Cold Blood. And I have a whole pile of books that I need to read for that challenge. I would really like to at least complete the majority of the challenges, even if I don't get to complete all 20 something that there are. Anyway, that is it. That is my mid-year book freakout tag. I hope you enjoyed. I'm not going to tag anyone because I think that this is the perfect time of the year for everyone to do this tag. So I just say that if you haven't done this video yet, I officially tag you. I think, now that we're in July, we're right at the halfway point. So definitely do this tag if you haven't yet. And I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all next time.